I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about me. I'm Irish. I come from a land where killer hangovers is a really serious thing, and we treat it very seriously. This actually exists. I took it as a photo on my way to work one morning when I had a killer hangover. So I followed that ambulance for a while before I gave up. More about me. I'm a father of several children, two of whom are twins, proof that I can multitask, not always for very useful things. Here's me doing a little bit harder multitasking with even more kids in IKEA. So multitasking in ops is pretty useful. Other things about me, I can pretty much do pigtails, but I can't do makeup. So that's kind of where I draw the line. Okay, so I work for Intercom. I was pleasantly surprised to meet a couple of Intercom customers and chat with them yesterday. Does anybody here use Intercom? I think I've met and talked to all of the people who use Intercom, so that's great. So what is Intercom? Intercom is a customer communications platform. Our mission is to make web business personal, and we provide a single, clean, beautiful interface for everybody in the business to talk to their customers. We were founded in Dublin in 2011. Today, we've got 140 plus employees split between Dublin and San Francisco. All of our kind of sales, marketing, and finance is based in San Francisco, and all of our engineering teams are in Dublin. We're just got our Series C funding, taking us to a total of $66 million. And we've done 5x growth this year, and I think pretty much every year before. And that's kind of the bit that drives the ops and scaling challenge. An up-to-date version of an Intercom's architecture. It's pretty simple. It's all on AWS. The really tricky bits are DynamoDB at the bottom, which you think should be easy, but over the last weekend we've seen it can be a little bit hard from time to time. And MongoDB, which is also hard, and it seems like everybody here knows that already as well. So my talk is about leading a team with values, and really it's a story of how a really small change we made to the team enabled us to have a dramatic impact. The really small change that we introduced, you guys can all tell exactly what this is. The magic ingredient was the introduction of core values for the team. And here's some of the really cool stuff we were able to achieve with it. So we were able to take, so this kind of yellow dotted line is the timeline around the introduction of core values. Before that, we had reasonably okay availability. Those availability numbers are the combination of outage minutes of our three main customer-facing interfaces, our web, REST API, and JavaScript API services. And after we introduced our core values, we were able to get consistently down to 99.95% availability, which was pretty cool for a company that's growing 5x every year and is kind of really evolving as a platform. Here's one of the other cool things we were able to do. So prior to introducing core values, our infrastructure costs were increasing linearly with our customer growth. After we introduced our core values, we started to really be able to achieve some economies of scale, and things got an awful lot better. And this is actually probably the one that was the most impactful to us. We were also able to reduce the trend of increasing operational pain. And this operational pain graph is directly the amount of pages our team are dealing with on a quarterly basis. So the fact that we were able to do 5x growth, adding more servers, adding more infrastructure, adding more customers, making everything cheaper and more available, and also with less operational pain was something we were pretty proud of. So my story is I started Intercom about 1.5 years ago now, and for the previous 9 years I spent working at 2 large successful technology companies. And in both of those technology companies we made liberal use of core values at pretty much every level, at the company level, at the organizational level, and sometimes even down to the team level. And I always really knew these things were super valuable. They basically enabled autonomy, distributed decision making, helped everybody get on the same page, even if they were in kind of remote offices or had never met each other. But I never really realized just how powerful they were until I had to go and create them myself. You might think it's a little bit silly to have this Darth Vader character at the end of my personal evolution, but you see some family slides. There's a bit of a theme there. So I came to Intercom, and Intercom was going really, really well at the time. We had a lot of the ingredients already for like a great company and a great team. We were a mission-driven company. We had like a really strong mission, product-driven. We had a bunch of awesome teammates, a collection of rock stars, superheroes, geniuses, and me at the end. We also had a bunch of other really good stuff going for us. So we had sunny outlook. We were really positive about things. We took time to celebrate success. We had really great growth. We shipped code to production a lot, and we had like a nice kind of balance of Irish and Silicon Valley craziness. So things were good, but they weren't great. And some of the problems that we found specifically in the ops team that we were having was we were suffering a bunch of roadmap randomization. So we were doing quarterly roadmaps, but very quickly into the quarter, we found we were very easily distracted from whatever it was we had planned to do. We found that anything that we decided to do or eventually decided to do took a lot longer than we thought and generally was delivered late. And there was this other kind of more primal feeling of just something wasn't quite right. We knew we had so much going for us, but really we felt like we should be better. And we were kind of an ambitious bunch, so we decided to try and do something different. I had one idea, but what we actually ended up doing was going away on an offsite, taking a bunch of time to think about this. And one of the things we decided to do was to come up with and commit to a set of core values for the team. So when we were thinking about our core values, we didn't just want any core values. We had like a couple of criteria that we were using to help us filter and identify core values that were best for us. The first one was that we wanted core values that fitted with Intercom and fitted with our own company culture. We didn't want to create our own microculture. We also wanted values that were like personal to us and based on our own beliefs and experiences. We didn't actually want to just cherry pick core values from other successful companies or teams or things that we'd actually read on a blog post somewhere. We also wanted them to be really specific. We wanted them to be able to help us say yes sometimes and no a lot. We wanted things that were not like ownership or innovation or things that were like too vague. We also wanted stuff that was like aspirational and inspirational. We wanted things that would like stretch us to do really good things and things that would kind of live forever and that we wouldn't just be able to achieve them and call them done. We wanted phrases or values that would actually be relevant to every single day, and they would really kind of drive behavior and decisions in kind of everything that we were doing. And the last one was that we wanted something that wasn't dogma. This was supposed to be a conversation starter, a way of thinking, but it had to be flexible. It wasn't going to be a one-size-fits-all all the time. Here's what we came up with. This one's easy, right? Security, availability, performance, scalability, cost, prioritize for maximum impact. And what this one was previously we had a bunch of roadmaps that were largely centered around software that we owned. So we owned the continuous deployment system, we owned the monitoring system, we owned the AWS configuration system. And we found that we were actually creating roadmaps or projects around these things. And these things weren't important to the company, or actually weren't important to us. The things that were important were the things that they enabled, or the things that we were accountable for. And those things are those themes there. And the other thing that this one also highlights is around the prioritize for maximum impact. A bunch of us had come from larger companies, places where they had several teams focused around security, several teams focused around cost. We didn't have that luxury. We were a single small team of about 7 people. We needed to be able to do all of this stuff. So as we were looking through our roadmaps, we were explicitly looking for projects which enable us to improve multiples of these things at the one time. Here was our second core value, and I think an interesting one. Faster, safer, easier shipping. Our CTO had a great quote where he said, Intercom is a place where we ship ambitious projects as a series of small, safe steps. And that really, really, really resonated with us as something that we were super passionate about and wanted to fight for. We already had in place fully automated push on green continuous deployment infrastructure. We were shipping code to production about 50 to 60 times a day. Pretty much every merge to master resulted in its own production deploy to about 150 servers at the time. End-to-end deployment time from the time a merge to master happened was about 20 minutes. And even then, we felt that was amazing. I had just come from Facebook where we were doing 2 pushes a day. And each one of those pushes, you would have multiple engineers show up on IRC, basically almost stop what they were doing for the time the push was happening. And it was kind of a disruptive event. The site performance sometimes suffered during it. And here I was at this small startup and they were doing it 50 to 60 times a day, completely hands off. And we thought, wow, we're going to fight to keep this super true and fight to improve it as well. So that was like a really important one for us. It also had some other great benefits. So when your deployment system works fantastically well and fantastically reliably and fantastically quick, you never have to work around it. You're never feel like you want to hack something into production because like these guys were doing. So again, it was another really important reason for us to fight to keep faster, safer, easier shipping a really important core value for us. This is a simple one, but a powerful one as well. You guys can all get this one right. Zero touch ops. And this one had a bunch of stuff behind it as well. So who here has burned out before? More than once. Yeah, I had burned out more than once. A bunch of people on my team had burned out more than once, and it's horrible. And we wanted to fight to never, ever burn out again. One of the other really important things about this one is once your infrastructure runs on zero-touch ops, you actually get back so much more time as well. So this was actually kind of a real time saver, efficiency saver. It contributes to availability. So this was like a really important one for us. And I showed you at the start that kind of really coarse quarterly pager pane metrics. Here's like a slightly more detailed version of it. Those loads of red bars there is MongoDB. Another way of achieving zero-touch ops is just don't run MongoDB. I'm going to come to that in a future slide as well. One of the other things we thought about zero-touch ops, though, was we kind of thought about it beyond just pager pane. So we thought about it in terms of unscheduled work. And like as ops people, you kind of spend a lot of your time doing unscheduled work, interrupts, things break. What if you could get to a point where 80% of your time you were spending doing scheduled, roadmap, interesting scripting work, or software work? So we took that as a goal. And this is how we achieved it. So every morning after stand-up, like the last thing at stand-up was I had a little Google Doc spreadsheet where I would ask everybody, what sort of unscheduled work did you do yesterday? And they would tell me, I would write it down. Being a manager, I would make a pivot table out of it, come to like Friday planning meetings. I would say, hey, the biggest source of unscheduled work for us over the last trailing 6 weeks has been helping product teams around analytics stuff, or has been around Elasticsearch instability. Maybe we got paged about it, maybe we didn't. Maybe we were just like working proactively in the background. So how about we figure out what's the project we could take in order to eliminate or minimize this work? Here was the impact. And I'm just showing you the last kind of couple of weeks, but I've got some quarterly numbers here at the bottom. So the unscheduled hours, this is the actual, so unscheduled hours, actual in the middle. We went from Q1 of this year averaging 25.6 hours a week of unscheduled work, Q2 to 13 hours, and Q3 to 6.8 hours. And when you take into account the amount of actual engineer hours we have, we went from 78% scheduled to 88% scheduled to 92% scheduled. And there's several weeks in there you can see where we actually had 100% or 99% actual totally usable time. And when I say totally usable, we say 5 hours usable in the day, and the rest of the time is like taken up for lunch, meetings, interviews, or things like that. One of the other interesting things that we actually started to measure, which is not quite zero-touch ops, but kind of like in a similar efficiency vein. So we actually work to a sort of a weekly Scrum. It's not Scrum, it's not Kanban, it's kind of our own thing. We call it Hustle, but it's basically like a set of weekly goals. And each week I would record what percentage of our goals were on roadmap-related work versus what percentage of our goals were on like proactive or reactive operational tasks. And it was really interesting that over the course of the year, we generally spend about 50% of our time on roadmap-related work and the other 50% of our time on operational work. And I would also record what percentage of work we actually got done, regardless of whether it was operational or not. And we got about 75% of our work done. And this led us to a planned progress metric of 37% and a planning multiplier of 2.7. So basically now, every time we do roadmap planning, we get the engineers to give us a basic estimate, double it, or sorry, multiply it by 2.7, and that's how much time we actually allocate for it in the roadmap. And yeah, we get 92% usable engineering time. And honestly, we pretty much hit every single one of our goals and every single one of our projects for the last 3 quarters using this mechanism. I keep pressing the wrong one. So this is the last one, our last of our 4 core values. Run less software. And a bunch of people have talked about like ruthless simplification of your infrastructure. We're like 100% bought into that. Anytime you can eliminate a data store or a system, you should do it. We're absolutely bought into AWS. A third of our engineering team is ex-AWS. We certainly prefer platform as a service rather than infrastructure as a service. That's 100% prevalent, particularly when it comes to data stores. And I would hope in 6 months' time, I'll be giving a talk about our migration from MongoDB over to DynamoDB, and that like run less software bit and lower operational pain will be an even better story. So we did all these things. We got these 4 lovely core values. And how do I know, or what's my kind of explanation for having these 4 core values leading to like, what's like the causation rather than like correlation, or the explanation for how we achieve this? And let's see if I'll get away with this one. Synergy. I never thought I'd get to, maybe I get away with it, maybe I don't. So let me explain it. So by working on zero-touch ops, we buy back a load of time to help us prioritize for maximum impact on the things that we care about most and the things that our customers and our CEO cares about the most. By running less software, we're able to get better and better versions of the things we would actually build ourselves, which in turn means those things are going to break less, which in turn means we have more time to focus on the things that give us the best impact. By practicing faster, safer, easier shipping, the fact that we're shipping code all of the time, generally it means that you have zero lurking technical debt in your system anywhere. It means you're able to patch things quicker, and you generally get a higher availability. Synergy. And you get all of these cool, lovely things. So I'll be the first to admit, and I think I talked a little bit before, there's like many things which actually contribute to having a super high-performing team. Some of them are less well known about than others. And I think core values is kind of one that's kind of undervalued, and a lot of teams focus on continuous deployment, or they focus on their really high hiring bar. But having like a really great set of core values for your team, I think, is really worthwhile doing. So, open for questions. Those links actually work. Check them out. And we're hiring. So if you want to work in a company that's doing 5x growth every year, has a pretty simple architecture, takes their hangover seriously, likes emoji, maybe you should chat to me afterwards. So they sort of are an ordered list of priorities, and we actually have a little bit more text that goes with some of them. I would still say security is like our number one priority. So we definitely will do stuff for security which doesn't improve availability or even like disimproves availability. Availability is definitely the second one. I would say faster, safer, easier shipping is definitely the third one. Cost is, we kind of have like a baseline for profitability, and once we sort of stay above that, cost is definitely something we're willing to certainly let slip for a while anyway. Yeah?
Question about your estimates, where if you have to multiply 2.7 times your original estimate, should you just change how you're estimating?
No. Because we actually work on quarterly roadmaps, weekly goals, we generally want to do our planning session in like 45 minutes on a Friday. We don't want to spend a huge amount of time estimating. And the interesting thing is, like, even though each quarter our amount of unscheduled hours continue to go down, our amount of stuff the percentage of stuff we got done stayed the same. And I think it was because we were actually doing more stuff, but this 2.7 thing works for us. Engineers are pretty poor at estimating anyway, so I'd rather just let them be consistent about, in my mind, I've estimated how long it will take me to build a working prototype, and I've underestimated how much time it's going to take to plan it. I've underestimated how much time it's going to test, debug it, integrate it into the live system, but that's okay because we just got this 2.7 multiplier.
So that multiplier is like the overhead stuff?
Yes, I think like for anybody who's read the Mythical Man Month, and like where they break it down into like 1/4 of the time is spent coding, 1/3 of the time should have been spent planning, 1/6 of the time is like unit test, and 1/6 of the time is like integration test. We just tell engineers don't worry about all that stuff. It'll generally take 3 times longer than you think it will.
Do you see these, like, you seem to be having success with them, so do you have a space to like evolve them and add more? Or do you see that happening now?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's like probably one of the most important bits of it that I actually haven't talked about here. So every quarter we still actually go away off-site, and one of the key things we do in that off-site is rederive all of those values from first principles. We talk about adding more in or removing them. It's really important for new people who join the team to feel like those core values are like their core values rather than actually ones that are handed down to them by other people. We discussed 2 new core values just last week. One was enabling product teams to be operationally excellent, and another one was enabling product teams to own their own services from end to end. I think we're probably going to introduce the first one this quarter and introduce the second one the following quarter. But yeah, absolutely, being able to rederive them from first principles every time is super important. Yep.
Do you put anything about your sorts of methods like huddle out publicly? How it works for you, what it is?
Yeah, so we actually did, our VP of product did a blog post on that, how we build product, or lessons learned building a product team. It's on blog.intercom.io. But yeah, absolutely, we talk about how we generate the roadmap, how we break it down into a set of intermissions, which an intermission is like a really lightweight requirements and success outcome document without any design or technical stuff, and then how we break that into releases, and then the releases become weekly hustle goals. Yeah?
Have you tested any of the Mongo services out there?
Yes. We used to run on Compose, and we have migrated from Compose to MMS, so MongoDB's MMS managed service. I don't think MongoDB served us really well from like day zero right up to where we are now, and I think part of our problems around MongoDB is the fact that we allow our customers to upload absolutely anything to us. So I don't think it's that MongoDB is a bad product. I think it's like a great product, but it's our queries, it's basically how we query it, and the fact that we don't want to go to native sharded MongoDB. So probably just go to DynamoDB instead. Anybody else? Cool. Thanks very much.
Thank you.